This is a reading of a student's transcript of a workshop given by Ernest Holmes. Now this transcript is available in the book Love and Law, the Unpublished Teachings. It is a collection of rare and unpublished lectures and workshops given by Ernest Holmes to his students in Los Angeles, California. Please remember to like and subscribe and turn on the notification button to be informed of new lectures in this series. Thank you for your support as we bring you more videos about the mind and its creative powers to change your life. In this lecture, Ernest Holmes goes deeper into the subject, helping his audience understand the right mindset to have to make a treatment to achieve a demonstration. Now a note here, by treatment, it is a term that Ernest Holmes and science of mind practitioners use to mean changing our beliefs, mindsets, thoughts, and consciousness with the right set of thinking and beliefs. And the term demonstrating is the word for manifesting, according to today's widely used term. In this lecture, he teaches us step by step how to set up our mind to be conducive to treating any problem to achieve a demonstration. One important thing that he will reveal here is that we need to destroy the false beliefs and wrong mental concepts that had produced the problem or condition that we are treating. Every condition is backed by thought in our consciousness. If we do not destroy the thought of the false beliefs, we will not see a demonstration. You will not see any change until your negative thoughts about the subject are wiped out or diminished by the new positive thoughts that you are affirming. That is in this chapter titled Demonstrating from an Invisible Principle. Over the course of this book, Love and Law, Ernest Holmes will slowly build up on the previous lecture and provide more and more in-depth valuable secrets on how to make a demonstration. So please subscribe and turn on the notification button for more future lectures that we will be adding to the collection soon. I have added these lectures in Love and Law in a new playlist. You can find the link to the playlist below that you can save to your browser. Let's begin the lecture. Demonstrating from an Invisible Principle. The metaphysical principle can be demonstrated. There is not any question about that. It is not any good unless it can be. You can draw from an invisible principle which receives your thought and acts upon it just as you believe you will get. Now, there is not any question about that. I want to say again that what that principle is, further than that it must be mine, of its real nature, I'm profoundly ignorant, and so is everybody else. And it is useless to make any claims that we cannot substantiate. There is not any living soul who knows what God is. We say God is the life essence of all that there is. That is true. But it can be said of electricity that no living soul knows what electricity is, but electricity is. We may as well use it. Mind is, and we may as well use that. It is productive of wonderful results when we contact it in the right way. There is no longer any question but that we are surrounded by something, we call it mind, which receives every impress of our thought and which acts upon every impress of our thought and tends to bring it out into outer manifestation. So that if you and I want to entertain a mental concept long enough, it will be created for us. There is no question about that. You and I do constantly entertain mental concepts. Indeed, we cannot help it. We are thinking beings and we cannot help thinking. It depends then upon what we think we shall become And the sooner individuals who are seeking to operate this principle will realize that it depends only upon what they think and depends upon nothing else, and the sooner they learn to depend upon nothing else, the sooner they will demonstrate that principle. To any thinking person, there must come a time when there is a realization that everything which is seen comes from that which is not seen. Since that which is not seen is the cause of everything, it is also the effect of everything. That is, it is the cause behind it, that it is the effect in manifestation, and that the whole process of creation takes place on an invisible plane, absolutely. We are learning that this creative process is the result of some activity of thought in mind. Whether it is God's thought, or your thought, or my thought. When we think, our thought, we will say, goes forth, is immediately surrounded by this mind that immediately begins to act upon it. Just like the creative power of the soil acts upon the seed. When I first realized this, it took me a long time to think it out or study it out. You realize more by thinking than you will in any other way. And I came to the conclusion that it must be this way, that it could not be any other. When it took me several years to get where I could use it, I had to go by something that I believed but was not sure of. I realized this, and there is a point to consider, that since all is mind, and when you and I think, that mind creates it, it can only create what we think, no more and no less. So long as we entertain a negative attitude towards any proposition, we are destroying any possibility of that thing happening. For instance, suppose I was sick and I wanted to heal myself. So long as I hold thoughts of sickness within my mind, I could not heal myself. It is not easy to think you are well when you are sick. It is not easy, if you're in business and everything seems to be going wrong, to mentally rise above that which appears on the outside. And so I used to reason this out this way. I will plant a seed in the garden. Now, I do not see any life in the seed. I do not see any creative power in the soil. All that I know is this: the seed is, and the soil is. And we have always known, if we put a seed in the ground, we will get a plant, and that proves there is a law of growth, a law which is creative, which is productive, a law which is receptive, a law which is eternal. It will take any kind of seed. It does not care who puts it in the ground. It is impersonal. Anybody can plant a garden, and if they comply with the conditions of soil and water, it will grow. What is true of one plant is true of all. And what is true on the outside, since it is the external manifestation of the concept held in the spirit, must be like that which made it. Like produces like. We draw nothing from nothing. Something has to come from something. And wherever you find anything in the physical universe, you find something that upholds it, and that is universal and omnipresent and intelligent. And so I used to think about myself. That same thing happens. I have no responsibility except to create the right kind of mental receptivity. That is the truth. Thus we, who are seeking to demonstrate, we know that all we have to do is to realize the truth. That is, use the mind in a positive, formative way, and the mind, or the power which creates everything and projects it, will do the rest for us. If we come to the point where we see that this is all we have to do. It is all taught. No matter how hard we struggle, we could not do anything else. All we have to do is take up the attitude of the expectant receiver, realizing we are scientifically using the law. A couple of months ago, I was seeking to make a demonstration, which in a certain way was quite important for myself, a thing which seemed quite a necessary thing to have, and I struggled quite a bit, a thing I do not often do. Never learn to put anybody on a pedestal. If you put them high enough, you invariably see their feet are made of clay. I did struggle considerably with my thought, trying to work it out myself. Then I said, I'm all wrong here. If there is a power working this out for me, I have to prove my absolute reliance upon it. I have to let it alone. And so I went about and thought no more about it. And today, in the most unaccountable way, that thing was made possible. Something that would never have entered my consciousness in 1,000 years. And it shows that if we dare and learn to place implicit trust, there is something that honors that faith which we give it. The subjective side of an individual's thought does not mean another mind. It means the accumulation of race belief which we accept operating through us. The thought forms which we have created and with which we have surrounded ourselves, our mental beliefs underneath, the results of our objective thinking and receiving through race suggestions, is termed subjective consciousness. It is that power of attraction or repulsion which the individual mentally sets up within. It is the subjective side of your mind. It is not another mind. It is your own mind operating. That is all. Your life and mine depend upon the subjective side of our thought. A note here, Ernest Holmes was talking about the subconscious mind. Who we are, as well as what we have, in health or wealth or peace of mind, will be the result of the accumulation of our thinking always. It could not be anything else. Now, we are going to step farther and not only saying in peace of mind and character, but in individual health and physical environment. And I know it is true. Relieve yourselves from all responsibility of making anything. You could not make anything if you tried to. The united intelligence of the human race from time immemorial, summed up into one moment, could not create one petal of one rose, because it does not know enough to do it. And it is good that it does not. But it can have created for it as many roses as it sees fit through using the creative principle which is, and it need not take the responsibility of that creative power at all. So when we come to our responsibility, it rests solely in providing the right atmosphere and nothing else. I'm giving you a system of thought, and if you want to make a demonstration, you can work it out. I will not do it for you if I could. I would be depriving you of a divine right. From the metaphysical standpoint, I say get your arms away from clinging on to other people. Dare to be yourself. Where did you think anybody ever got so much that you could not know? Then and there you are forswearing yourself. I am just as intelligent as anybody who ever lived. You have got to have a kind of a decent idea of yourself in metaphysics. Did you ever see a person succeed in business who thought it would fail? You never did, and you never will. People who succeed in life are the people who know that they will. And that free knowing is creation in mind of the universal. You must do this all for yourself, and know this for yourself. It is working for me every day I live. There is one, and not two. Never forget that. Anywhere in the universe, just one. That one life is the substance of everything. It is one in unity, but multiple in manifestation. It is one substance from which an infinite variety of different things come, but every one of those things is made out of the one thing. Now, that one life and intelligence and creative power operates through me. That is the next thing. It would not be of any good to us if there was one infinite life, unless that life was in some way connected up with me. Many people make a mistake in thinking that it is enough to claim that God is all. We must realize there is one power, one God, one all, one life, and that life is in me now. I am a manifestation of that one. Now, you have a working principle. You can think of yourself as a sort of a center in this divine living intelligence through which it operates. Begin to think of your consciousness as an activity of mind through which it flows. Begin to think of your word as the word of power going into it, which shall create. That brings you to the one. This mind makes everything. The Spirit, or God, makes everything by thinking or speaking, and then the thing appears in the visible. And since that life is in you, in your word, you do the same thing. You can look at your hand every day and declare that there is a wart right there and it will come. Your word will manifest. You can look at it every day for a while longer and declare that it is gone and it will go, provided you arrive at a consciousness that knows. This infinite one cannot know anything outside of itself. Anything that will say, I'm not a part of it, it will not recognize at all, because that will be a contradiction of its divine nature. So when you say, I'm poor, I'm sick, or weak, or I'm not one with the creative power, you're using that creative power to keep yourself away from the infinite. And just as soon as you declare you are one with God, there is a rushing out to meet you, just as the Father rushed out to meet the prodigal son. Jesus said, the Spirit seeks. So long as your mind is in the term of conditions, you cannot overcome. Here is the way to do it. You are not dealing with conditions. Overcome it. To think of disease creates it. You're dealing only with thought. Thought, nothing else. Thought and spirit. Spirit is the thing that thinks in you, and so you're dealing only with the activity of spirit, which is thought, and you must believe that that thought is law. For instance, I want you to take this and practice it. Suppose you are in business. Remember, this law will work anywhere for anything. It will kill you just as quick as it will save you. Do not forget that. It could not be law if it could not work that way. If you use it to do that which is not in harmony with the fundamental principles of good, sooner or later you will be very sorry. But that will not be anybody's business but your own. If a person takes this and uses it in the wrong way, that is up to them. But I do not think people want to use it in a wrong way. I think if there is anything known about the law and how it works, it should be their life endeavor to tell as many people about it as they can. You sit then in that business and you want to demonstrate activity. In other words, you want more customers. You want many people coming and going, buying and selling. You can demonstrate that in a very easy way, provided you will believe. First of all, there is one power, and it is in you. Then, for the sake of clear thinking, you state it definitely. Say it right out. Now, this word which is spoken is the law about this thing about which I'm speaking. Realize that that law is to be a universal thing. Your word is to go to the universal power which recognizes it. Your word is the law unto this case. There is something in the race suggestion which says that all is matter. You have got to destroy that thought that is held in the race consciousness over every individual and binds them hand and foot until they are emancipated. You have got to destroy that race consciousness. Then you state definitely, this word which I speak destroys every man-made belief. It destroys the thought of non-activity. It announces the thought of lack. It destroys the thought that there is not plenty. If race suggestions happen to be the means which holds you, and no doubt they will until you destroy them, then you have got to destroy them. If the race suggestion is that nobody wants to buy this kind of a thing, you have got to destroy that by declaring absolute activity is here. Then you make your declaration like that. There is a power upon which you can absolutely and unconditionally rely. It is not enough to say God is good and all is lovely. I believe that is a beautiful thing to say, and I'm quite sure it is the truth. But it will never save you. God is good, but you are your own Savior. It could not be otherwise. Jesus could not save. God cannot save. Why? Because every living soul is an individual, and we are let alone to work out our own destiny. Let us each then turn to God who is good, and immediately we are reinforced by an infinite power working in and through our divine individuality. So don't hesitate to destroy every thought that is held in the race consciousness. Then you declare there is but one power that overcomes, and that is the one, and it is right here now. And the impulse of that word which you speak goes out, and it establishes here and now the law of divine harmony and activity. It will work. I have proved 1,000 times for 1,000 different people, and I have yet to see it fail if the conditions are complied with. The next condition then is that you have got to provide within your own consciousness some kind of a unity with the thing you want. That only stands to reason. The person who is not used to doing big things in life will not immediately begin to do them. The person's consciousness has got to expand and got to grow, to apprehend more and more ability to grasp things. And so there is a law of growth in the individual. And the law springs spontaneously from the spirit, but the concept has to grow from the individual. We have got to provide a mental equivalent for everything we want. If I want to create activity, I must realize in my life what great activity means. For instance, a man who has all his life sold peanuts for 5 cents a gob and taken in $3 or $4 a day and paid out $2 or $3 won't know very much about handling big propositions and doing business on a big scale. That man has got to begin right where he is, and everybody has got to begin right where they are. Do not be surprised if someone did not come along in 2 or 3 weeks and give you $1 million. But be satisfied within your own consciousness. You can see a mental unfoldment, a great reaching out and taking in more and more. And when you feel your vision is enlarging, as it enlarges, just reach right out and take hold of everything. For instance, this is a habit I have in my life. It may be right or it may be wrong. It does not matter. I constantly unify myself with the activity of human race. It is not enough that I sit here and say, I hope half a dozen of people come to my class, but that I get such a large grasp of things that the whole world will come in trying to manifest them. The one living activity, absolute and eternal. The trouble with the human race and the individuals seeking to demonstrate is this. They are so confounded personal, so selfish, so egotistical, they cannot see. They cannot get a grasp of the big things because their sense is limited to personal things. Me and my wife, my son John and his wife, biscuits for 4 of us. Thank God, there is no more of us. We have got to get over that little suggestion. It is not enough. To become alive and build the greatest lives, we must become something more, something worthwhile. There is not a day in my life that goes by that I do not take the time to unify myself in my consciousness with big things, to think I'm one with all activities, all industries, all commerce, etc., etc., and just feel that thought reaching out and encompassing the largest fields of activity of the world. Then you are one with the infinite stars in the heavens, and that is to see things. It is that in our mental attitude that decides what we are going to become and nothing else. If you could feel your mental concept of your business touch the universal, you will only have to speak the word and it will come to you in a ceaseless stream, just as you will have to do this mechanically. I have in mind one woman who said, "That is true, and it is true for me." She has made more financial demonstrations and secured more success and got more absolute results than anybody I have had in my class in a year's time. And she has done it in 3 months. She said, "That is it. That is just what I'm looking for. I believe I'm just fool enough to do it. And I have never seen such remarkable results in so short a time." It was pretty hard to convince myself that the thing was true at all. But there was something in me that knew it had to be true. I could see the results could not be if it were not true. But the old race suggestion would come up. I fought it. We ought not to have a fight. We ought not to have the physical war. But we have got it. And that is why we are fighting. There is nothing to concentrate on. The very act of trying to concentrate will destroy the possibility of demonstrating. But calmly and persistently, even though it be mechanically, you speak the word and there is a certain amount of power. And gradually, you will be able to feel the form of the word is the letter of the law with the flesh and makes it become the real thing. But at first, if you cannot do it in any other way, just do it mechanically. Say it over and over again, and put as much of the spirit into the word as you can get to put into it. Convince yourself over and over again. Suppose you wanted to attract to you some opportunity, some definite thing. You do the same thing. Let it be known in mind what you want, and then within yourself provide a perfect embodiment of that expression which you want. Become that thing. Jesus said, "That I have, and I shall become it." Feel yourself to be that thing. Feel yourself surrounded by all of the conditions that the environment embodies, and then speak right forth, knowing that the word is law, knowing that is the way it is. And another thing, more and more realize that intelligence knows. You're not dealing with a blind force. You're dealing with something that knows, something which is. Intelligence is eternally creative and not the intelligence of the human race. You have got to practice these things. Take a few moments each day in silence and recognition of infinite life. Affirm 1. It is in me now. 2. I can use it. My word goes forth into mine. 3. It takes my word and creates it. 4. I see it in my life, the thing which it has created. Taking that as a proposition, you can handle as many things as you want to, as many as you can carry in mind. Literally speaking, you and I are in an infinite mind which creates for us. Then you can take thought and speak it forth with absolute conviction. The length of time you must treat. You might have to treat an hour before you believe what you state. Think about it until you absolutely think that is the truth. Do it 2 or 3 times a day until there is a perfect calm confidence, knowing that it is done. A lady who has really gotten a rather remarkable consciousness has made a very wonderful demonstration of the power of the word a short time ago on a fig tree. The figs will grow about so far and will not grow anymore. She spoke the power of the Spirit and said, I know it is still in these figs, and there is some wrong thought which hinders them from bursting through. It seems some neighbors had said that the figs on that tree will only grow so big and then fall off. That, she said, is what hinders them. Something was wrong, but I do not know what it was. And I'm going to treat that tree until I know that which is perfect about it. She thought of all of the things which were said in the Bible that Jesus had done about material things. She worked until she knew that the tree was full of perfect figs. She did not go out to see until the next morning. She found the figs had doubled in size. Do you know that fig tree was nothing but a mental concept, and it is created perfect, and that mind can and does control even the plants? Do you know how Luther Burbank gets result? He talks to his plants. He is a metaphysician, and that is the way he gets them to grow. There is a law that the florist will find the flower before the seed. That has got to be. Nothing comes from nothing. Only something has to come from something. Don't you know that those people who have the best success with plants, who love them? Be that as it may, this thing we are to work upon, that power is in you, but you have got to bring it forth. It is latent in every living soul, but you have got to bring it out. The following is an example of a treatment which creates a demonstration. Realize you have nothing to make. You have nothing to make it out of. Let us realize there is but one infinite life from which all things come. Look beyond all manifestation and see the one power, essence of all that is, beside which there is nothing else. That life is in me now. Now my word is to go forth, and everybody must think it through for themselves, as I'm thinking it through for myself. Your word is just as much as mine. My word goes forth into this power, and it shall be done unto me absolutely as I believe. I believe that the Spirit or intelligence hears this word and receives it and acts upon it. There is nothing in me, no doubt or fear, that can hinder it. That thing which calls itself doubt or limitation and fear is not any part of me. It is not me. This word which I speak destroys every false concept, every man-made law, every raised suggestion of limitation, and knows itself to be power and perfect and eternal and complete. It is the law which cannot be broken. That word which is within me and around me, the divine activity of the Spirit which is eternal, drawing to me, presenting me with every good and perfect thing, surrounding me with its own limitless activity and power, operating within me as the power and center of infinite attraction. The great impulse of this spirit is love and expression, to express life. Therefore, this word goes forth with an irresistible power. Nothing can stand against it. It returns unto me fulfilled in my life as activity, as supply. And if I desire some special activity, I will say that this word, this great mind which knows every living soul, knows that particular person that has need of that, and I have and will draw them to me, and I need never know until they come. Mind knows all, is in all, flows through all, and within and without all, and encompasses all. And so that person who comes shall be benefited, even as I shall be benefited. Now I consciously unify myself with all of the activities of power and of right on earth. I am one with all the wealth of the earth, and the air and the sea and the land. And everything that is in the universe is mine to use. And behind it all, and in and through, and in and around it all, permeating myself and the thought and the law, is the living spirit and the presence of that being whom we call God Almighty, the one and only presence, divine and eternal power, the infinite companion. Thou God eternal, thou hast heard my prayer, and I am blessed. This word then, which I speak, is absolute, complete, changeless, eternal truth, forever. Just realize it. Let it go and realize that it is taken up by the power which knows. That is all there is to making a demonstration. You must believe it as the great reality of your life. It is the law of life that you should give as you receive. It is not a suggestion for a large collection, because the collections have been unusually large during this season of talks, but we can always give as we hope to receive. We have always found in our word that classes are very liberal, and we get what we give. People who expect to demonstrate this principle must be very constant, very determined, very positive, very sure and faithful with themselves, patient with themselves, long-suffering with themselves. You will rise and you will fall. You will get discouraged. You will become encouraged, but you always will be progressing, always. And so you must simply stick to it, and the day will come when you will no longer say, I hope, I desire, I pray, but you will say, I know. You can hasten that day by doing away with all argument now and simply accepting it. You can hasten your progress if we can accept it at once. Had I been able to begin the first day where I did begin, the truth would have operated just as quickly. Bring to mind a definite problem and treat on that definite problem until you get a solution. Take 24 different things if you can keep them in mind. Don't come and think you go through some spiritual trick and it is done. It will be done when your consciousness corresponds with the thing you desire.